If you were new to a town and asked someone where to find the best cheeseburgers, and they recommended you go to McDonald's, and when you asked why that was the suggestion, they responded with, because it sells the most cheeseburgers by a landslide, so they must be the best. How would you feel? If you had McDonald's before, as well as any other restaurant that sold similar items, you know not to take that opinion seriously. This is how I feel when it comes to Grand Theft Auto as a franchise when it gets touted as the king of open world games. The most popular open world game? Of course. One of the highest selling games in history? Sure. A king it is not. Grand Theft Auto as a franchise is a jack of all trades, but a master of one. Now, before I start shitting on GTA any further, I'm gonna start with some positives. I'm only talking about modern GTA negatively, so basically 5. San Andreas and Vice City rightfully hold their place in gaming history. And I don't even know if I can consider 4 modern because it came out so long ago. Anyway, as I stated before, jack of all trades, master of one. That one thing GTA excels in over every other open world competitor is the driving. I want to be clear, I'm talking about GTA 5 specifically. If I have to hear one more guy talk about how good they thought the driving was in GTA 4, I'm gonna lose it. That game's driving felt like every car was on ice skates, had bowling balls and anvils in the trunk, and operated at 500 times normal gravity. Disgusting. But back to GTA 5. The driving in that game feels perfect. It must have been crafted by a driveologist or something because no other game can seem to come even close to how good driving feels in that game. Even without Franklin's Hot Wheels mode superpower. It's at the point that any open world game I play, if it has cars, I've already made peace with the likelihood of them handling like you're driving a suitcase. Even my favorite open world games, Saints Row 3, Sleeping Dogs, and Cyberpunk 2077 have this problem. But oh well, positive out the way. Let's move on to other aspects of an open world game I think are most important and how GTA measures up. Let's look at the movement, the combat, the open world itself, the missions, the story, and the characters. By the way, when I talk about GTA, I'm also going to talk about online. I'm counting that as part of the game regardless if they want to brand it as something else. First off, for the most part, movement is serviceable at best. Not much to champion here. Only things I would praise are the contextual controls, like how the game knows when you're near a body of water when you hit jump and instead it will make you dive into the water, or how the game knows if you hit the jump button while sprinting towards the hood of a car, you'll slide over the hood to the other side. Seems small, but adds fluidity to the flow of the game that really should be a staple in games everywhere. But I can't praise it all because GTA also has contextual movement when it comes to the ladders. Basically, when you are moving and approach the proximity of a ladder, the game will assume you want to climb it. Sounds great on paper, but for every time it worked as intended, there has been a time I've been magnetized to and start accidentally climbing the ladder, trying to move past it, and in some cases that shit has gotten my ass killed by enemy NPCs. I have a gun in my hand, so it's easier to see when the animation for climbing the ladder starts. Pay attention to when my right arm starts to lower, and look how far I am away from the ladder when it changes position. This might be understandable if my character was facing the ladder or at least closer to it, but he isn't. Also, the opposite happens sometimes too. There are times my body will straight up bump into the ladder and the animation won't trigger. Outside of that, the general movement of GTA is supremely outclassed by Sleeping Dogs and Watch Dogs. Say what you want about Ubisoft as a whole, but Watch Dogs 2 is pretty great, and the parkour movement is one of the many reasons for that. That was the first game I played where I had that much of an affinity for the way that you move that alone was one of the fun parts. And those movements made escaping or chasing someone so much more fun. Same with Sleeping Dogs. Everything about that game was more in the business of making you feel like the coolest action hero possible. Next up is combat. I'm just gonna say it flat out. There is nothing noteworthy about GTA's combat. it is serviceable. Actually, it's a step slightly beneath serviceable because there's been plenty of times my character has locked on to someone I did not intend to, and that's gotten me killed. For instance, in this scenario, I would obviously want to aim at the guy closest to me, right? Nope. For some reason, my gun locks onto some dickhead in the back behind 2 boxes and a pillar. And even when I'm strafing closer to this kid, the next lock on is his bestie that is also 300 light years away, fraternizing behind boxes. So I know what you're probably thinking. Maybe it's dependent on whoever is closest to the center of your screen instead of proximity.
Not at all, boy!
Watch this. After I kill this guy, I spin my view and attempt a lock on. Does it lock on to the guy at the center of my screen? Nope. GTA Jesus decides that this motherfucker that isn't even on my screen when I hit the trigger is a higher priority, so now I have to aim at this armed pigeon and die because of it. So in one instance, it's whoever is near the center, and in the other, it's whoever is closest, even when that being is not on the screen. Actually, the more I think about it, GTA's combat is actually a lot worse than slightly below serviceable. The main reason is because of the enemies themselves. If you engage in combat, every enemy knows the exact position you are in and will always know until you kill all of them. You can die and respawn, which will teleport you to a totally different location, and the enemies will snap to your exact coordinates and continue to engage. You cannot break the line of sight. Watch Dogs gives you the ability in combat encounters to get everyone's attention, break line of sight, and now the opposition is forced to search to find you, giving you time to reposition and rethink your strategy. Cyberpunk has way more freedom in how you deal with enemies. Sleeping Dogs' flow of combat is fun as hell. You'll go from vaulting over cover into an enemy, taking them down while stealing their weapon, kicking dudes in the air in slow motion just to shoot them to hell like Max Payne, to fist fighting and using the environment to your advantage like a light version of the Arkham games. The only prominent open world game that has worse combat than GTA is Saints Row, and even that game has takedowns to at least spice it up a bit. Watch Dogs' combat is about on par with GTA, but slightly above because while the shooting is nothing special, there are also takedowns, and like Cyberpunk, the combat gets a boost of variety. One time I didn't feel like dealing with an enemy, so I straight up just got him arrested based on a false charge.
Local units, CTOS has identified a suspect in a human trafficking ring near your location. Move to detain. Over.
Hold it. You need to come with us.
What the fuck, man? Wait, what?
In addition, you can hack fuse boxes to set traps, hack a vehicle to run them over, or buzz their phones to distract and walk right past them. Plenty of ways to attack any scenario. Since we're talking about combat, I think it makes sense to transition into talking about the missions next. I'm gonna be real with you, most of GTA's missions are kinda boring. These 2 missions are downright disrespectful to the player. One of them being where you're Trevor and you have to move around shipping containers like it's a job simulator, and the other being you doing yoga quick time events as Michael and then going skydiving over the city in an acid trip. A mission literally carried by the visuals on screen and not your involvement in what is happening as a player. I'm sure there are other missions as atrocious as these. These are just the first 2 that come to mind off memory because of how unnecessary they were. This is like the video game equivalent of the "this could have been an email" critique used by people that have to deal with unnecessary corporate meetings, and I've been in a few, so I know the feeling. Fam, these missions are not fun. If these are what you came up with for missions and they absolutely had to be in the game in some way, shape, or form, this could have been a cutscene, dog. And it's a shame that a solution for this is to add another cutscene, because that's more enjoyable than whatever this is. I've been banging this drum for a while, but those missions are 2 of many examples of Rockstar thinking their story is so great they can get away with compromising the gameplay for the narrative that is being told which I think should rarely, if ever, happen in any game. I don't have much bad to say about Red Dead 2, but that opening mission is a great example of this. Most of that 20-minute mission, you're trotting along slow as fuck in some thick-ass snow and occasionally shooting people. This is not fun. And I don't want to act like only Rockstar does this. Plenty of games like to design levels like this where, from my perspective, it's as if they never have replayability in mind. Levels like these only survive the initial playthrough because you don't know that it's coming. And again, this game is overall pretty great, but this opening is one of the reasons I struggle to pick this campaign up again. I have got better things to do than to thug out a tedious mission just to get to the fun parts. This may be another hot take, but the car chase scenes in GTA weren't all that to me either. Mostly because they felt way too scripted. Cinematic, but not in a fun way, at all. They were so committed to making you experience something ultra specific instead of having a bit of freedom that they'd straight up bend the rules of their own universe to force it to happen. The most common example would be when you're chasing a vehicle and get too close to them, Rockstar will say, "You're not supposed to catch them right now," so the vehicle you're chasing will straight up increase its speed far past what that vehicle is capable of if you were driving that same model. And that same vehicle in the hands of the one being chased is cutting corners perfectly at those impossible speeds, making it look like a giant invisible kid is controlling the vehicle with his hand. Look at how fast this motorcycle gets when you get close. Another example would be a bus or truck blocking your path, forcing you to take the exact path Rockstar wanted you to take. This car doing this barrel roll is supposed to happen. No matter what you do, it's going to happen anyway. And again, these kinds of moments are cool the first time you see it, but the only benefit to this over spontaneity is the first time you see it. Sleeping Dogs chase scenes make you feel like an action hero, while GTA's chase scenes make you feel like an actor playing an action hero or like a cameraman, your only job being to keep up with the action so you can witness the spectacle in front of you. There are cutscenes, interactable cutscenes with QuickTime events, and actual gameplay. GTA somehow found a way to materialize another category and wedge its chases in between the last two. Since we're talking about missions, it's time to talk about some of the missions you encounter online. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, this shit is terrible. Mostly because, to my knowledge, the best way you can earn money is by owning a business and taking on missions to further the business's revenue. Most of those shit-ass missions consist of starting at your business, traveling a long-ass distance to steal some cargo, you shoot some people, travel all the way back to base, and you do that shit repeatedly for hours and hours and hours. It is no joke, legit like clocking in for a second job. Even worse because one, sometimes you can use any vehicle you want to collect the cargo. Still tedious, but whatever. A lot of the time though, Rockstar forces you to use the slowest vehicles in the game that don't go over 40 miles a month, all while advanced enemy NPCs relentlessly spawn in infinite speed cars and hit Fast and Furious movie maneuvers to headshot you with Splinter Cell conviction level accuracy while you attempt to crawl your way back to base on this Rockstar mandated jalopy. This power slide isn't a coinkydink, by the way. This is literally in their programming to boost in front of you, hit a slide, and hit you from the front. 2, because you're doing it online, so that means Rockstar thought it would be a spectacular idea to notify all other players on the server and say, hey, this guy is grinding his ass off to buy a purposely way overpriced $2 million car that takes a minimum of an overtime shift working at fucking Applebee's to acquire. So what we're gonna do is reward you about $2,000, that's not an exaggeration, for fucking him over and ruining his day. We are going to do everything in our power to encourage you to extinguish the light in another human soul. So much so that we are going to handcraft an abomination of a vehicle that turns anyone that wants to cause terror into an insidious bumblebee with missiles attached, making it easier to put our player base on suicide watch. And then we're gonna overprice the dog shit out of that too on purpose, so that most of the people who want to get their hands on this thing are the microtransaction encouraging whales willing to pay for it. And then after that, we'll introduce a costly missile lock-on jammer as a counter, encouraging you to either grind even harder to get that too, or join in on purchasing microtransactions just to defend yourself. And that's assuming you're doing a mission that even allows you to use a vehicle that lets you put on a missile jammer on it in the first place. Basically, creating a problem to sell you the solution. And 3, because while you can do this in a private lobby to be safe, Rockstar made it so that for every rival player that's in your lobby, you get a 2.5% bonus to the money you get for selling cargo, up to a maximum of 50%. So the only way to decrease the grind time is to leave your sanity at the mercy of other players. Beyond terrible mission design with zero excuse for it. Back to single player, some side missions are somewhat interesting, but if I'm being honest, a lot of the side missions and main missions are thinly veiled excuses to have you drive in a car with multiple characters very long distances just to listen to the characters you meet's dialogue. Which is even more reason why I think Rockstar believes that their story and writing overall is so great that it suffices for engaging gameplay. Watch Dogs 2 had a mission where I had to go into a church and steal information at the top floor. That's the only objective for the mission. You can go in guns blazing, you can hack everything in sight to confuse everyone, or you can do what I did. I scouted the building and found a side entrance on the top floor. I looked around for a way to get up there and found a scissor lift. I used my hacking abilities to control the lift, get me up on the terrace, sneak in the door that got me extremely close to the objective, downloaded the file unbeknownst to the guards, and got out without anyone knowing I was even there. And not once did a single blurb of text, a character on comms, or a waypoint tell me what to do, or even let me know that I could even do that. The game did not hold my hand every step of the way like I'm some clueless toddler, and it let me figure out my own path to victory. You know, like an actual sandbox like these games are supposed to be. Nakey Jakey put it beautifully in his video on Rockstar's game design, basically saying that in Rockstar games, if you do anything other than the exact thing Rockstar wants you to do, it's mission failed. Speaking of the sandbox, I think this is as good a time as any to talk about the open world itself. The map. This one's gonna be quick. Anyone that's played this game already knows what I'm about to say. Everything you see on this map that is colored green, so like 70% of this map, is mind-numbingly boring and useless. And in my opinion, the city itself ain't all that either. Not one time that I was ever in that city did I go, oh snap, there goes the nothing. There goes the nothing. I don't remember a thing from that city. But back to the green part. This is a ridiculous amount of waste. You could legit delete all the green portions of the map and still nobody would even notice it wasn't there anymore. Comparing this to Hong Kong and Sleeping Dogs, San Francisco and Watch Dogs 2, or Night City and Cyberpunk is like comparing a sperm cell with the Suds to a black hole with Juggernaut armor on. Night City being leagues above every other city I mentioned by a mile. That city rivals Gotham itself when it comes to degeneracy, and that city, that world was so immersive I still have an extremely strong desire to want to live in that world. And I usually don't even like future settings in any media. That city is straight up a character on its own. And speaking of characters, might as well switch over to talking about the characters of GTA 5. I want to be clear, the voice actors did their job very well. They are not the problem here for me. It's the characters they were given to play. I could never really connect with these characters at all. Trevor is either screaming or doing something grotesque. Michael is kinda interesting with the secret he kept from Trevor, But beyond that, there wasn't much that was actually gripping about his character. Franklin suffered the strange fate of the characters surrounding him having more personality than he did. He has got to be one of the most dry, blank slate characters I've seen lead a story. His best friend was more memorable than him by a long shot, and that's even if this scene didn't exist. And even if I'm giving more credit to the side characters, overall I still didn't find any of them to be that great. Most of the characters in this game are either sarcastic smartasses or constantly saying some out-of-pocket, off-the-wall shit. And I understand GTA is supposed to be a satire on American culture, but a vast majority of it wasn't funny to me. Cyberpunk's characters are incredibly strong, lovable, even outside of a romantic sense, memorable, and actually have interesting, unique designs. I honestly don't think there's much reason at this point to bring up the story, considering there's no chance it could have meant that much to me while it was being driven forward by characters I couldn't give any less of a damn about. So all in all, Rockstar's last output in this series has excellent driving, and everything else is either mid or beneath even that. This next part, I know this is gonna date the video, but just real quick, as of right now, GTA 6 is not out, and I want to talk about that for a second. Red Dead Redemption 2 was, in my opinion, Rockstar's strongest output. Most of the qualms I have with GTA 5 were improved with Red Dead, so I have increased faith towards GTA 6 when it comes to single player. GTA Online is still, after over a decade, making about $500 million a year off of microtransactions. $500 million. I bring this up because this on its own is the reason why I have zero faith in the multiplayer. Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to nickel and dime its player base in a way I do not think we are fully prepared to witness. So, the GTA community developed a mod for GTA 5, colloquially titled GTA RP, where you roleplay in servers. You pretend to exist as a character with their own backstory and interact with other players that are doing the same. I don't play it, but many do. Very popular. There are servers that are free to join, but there are also some that are paid to enter and have ridiculously priced microtransactions in them. Very lucrative. I know this is community driven, but I mention this as a potential omen of things to come. As much as I am against it, I'm almost inclined to say Rockstar, with their already predatory practices, would be stupid to not implement this into GTA 6. There is not a chance in hell that the most anticipated release in media history is gonna take the high road here. That is unfortunately too much money to leave on the table for any sensible suit. And that thing is a mod, so only PC players can access it. Most of the player base is on console, so imagine how much money is getting left off the table, not only from not being officially on the game under Rockstar's control, but also from not being on console. That game's multiplayer is going to be exactly what I described 5's multiplayer to be, but turned to 11. I know that wasn't really the focus of the video, but it was adjacent and I had to get it off my chest. I didn't think it needed a whole separate video for it. Anyway, that's all I got. Let me know in the comments what you think the best open world game is, as well as what you think of modern Grand Theft Auto. Like the video, check out my other content on the channel, and if you like it, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.